as always, our fallback should always be back to developer.android.com. So this is the website, as I've always been saying, this is where you should pretty much live. Because if you ever want more information or you're stuck, it's always better to come here and read it. So always good idea to get into the habit of reading documentation, especially from developer.android.com. So I went to developer.android.com/studio/publish. And you can see there's a lot of things here, a lot of tabs you can click on and read more about that topic. What I am going to be showing here is the publish your app topic. So if you click here, overview, it gives you the content list of things that you need to do in order to publish your application. Now, I'm not going to go through this and read for you because I'm very confident that you can do that on your own. But I just want to point out the most important parts that you should always remember, or at least know where to find it. So it says you're preparing your app for release. We start by configuring our application for release. So it says at minimum, we need to remove the log calls and remove the Android debuggable. Okay, so we have created a lot of logs. So if you go back to our project here, let's go to our Java. I'm going to go to controller, see if we have any logs here. There really aren't any, so I'm going to get out of there. Let's go to our data. No logs there. How about question bank? I'm going to say command find log. There's a few logs, but we've already gotten rid of them, it seems like. So we should be good because they are commented out. So this is a log D, or a log as we call it. And we don't want them to be on when we are ready to actually push or publish our application. And let's see, what else can we go look at? Let's come down here. I don't think there's any logs around here in questions. Let's see score. I don't think there are any logs either. Find log, no logs. Very good. So I think we should be okay. And this is a fairly small application, so that works. Let's keep looking. No logs either. How about main activity? We definitely should have a bunch of logs here. Very good. So I'm going to go ahead and start. Either delete them or just comment them out. Okay, keep finding others. Okay, so it looks like all of them are gone in this file. Very good. So we got rid of all those logs. So the next thing it says here, remove the Android debuggable attribute from your manifest file. So let's see if we have that. Okay, so I have my manifest open. If you don't have yours, just go ahead and find it and open of this project or of your project that you want to publish, and look inside of application here. It looks like we don't have a debuggable here. So in case you're wondering, it should be something like this. Debuggable should be something like true. Okay, but usually we don't have this because it's assumed that once we are developing the application, the debuggable is true, meaning you can actually debug this application. So if you have that, we have to remove it. That way we won't have issues. Very good. So let's continue here. There's all sort of things. It also says that we need to attribute the version name in our application. Now let's look at this versioning thing. What is it? So versioning. Applications, Android applications, or any applications, they must have some sort of versioning. Versioning allows us to know exactly what changes were made and allows us to keep track of new things that we added, new things that we fixed, and so forth. Now, it's easy to think that because, when we talk about smaller applications, it's such an easy thing because you think, oh, okay, I can have version 1, and then if I add or fix in something, I can just go ahead and, of course, put version 2, and then life is good. Yes, it is that easy, but at the same time, we have to be systematic. An Android studio or an Android developers must follow certain rules. That way, hopefully, the process is easier. But remember, at this point here, this versioning is very important, especially that now we're going to be taking our application to the masses, meaning people from all over the world are going to be able to install our application. So you can see now, say that 2 months later, you have a new version of this application. You have to have a way in which you can publish a new version. Now, people who already have the application must be able to download this application. You may ask, so how will they know to update the application? Well, it's all about versioning. Really what happens in the backend is that once we are ready to actually publish our application, we have to version our application. So our APK will have a version for each time that we create a new one, if we wish to do so. So to get to a Google Play Again store, our app needs to have a version or a versioning system. So what happens here is that our APK, we create, for instance, version 1 of this APK, and we pass it on to Google Play Store. A month later, we decide to create another version of this application. We may add something, revamp, we may do all sorts of things, right? And a few months or a few weeks later, we create another version. Now, the beauty here is that there's not much we actually have to do. All we have to do is to make sure to add the attributes of versioning. That way, the Gradle, which builds our applications, knows exactly how to match everything inside of our APK. So then when we pass it on onto Google Play Store, it knows to fetch that new version. It passes on onto all the users who already are installing the application, who already have the application installed. So it prompts them to say, hey, there is a new version. You should install this new version. Your application at this point is going to be intact, and the new version is going to be installed, and life is good. So back to our documentation here, inside of Publish Your App, we can go to Version Your App. So if you go there, you see that there's a lot of information again that I'm sure you can read on your own, but most importantly, it tells us that we must define a version. Now, there's two ways to do that. You can do that in the manifest file, which I don't recommend doing. You may, but I don't recommend doing that. The usual way of doing that, the usual way of creating a versioning is using the Gradle. So if we go back to our Gradle, let's go back so I can show you here. Close all this down, that as well. Let's go to Gradle, App. You notice that we have at the top here version code and then version name. Now, this is the important part, folks. Version code is very important because this is what Google Play will look at your APK and find this in order to trigger the update. This version code here is an integer, and there is version name, which is indeed a string. Now, version name, we can play around with it because this is what users are going to be able to see. So at this point here, we can say version 1, and what users are going to see, we can say it's version 1.0. The moment I change this to version 2 for the next iteration, right? I change to 2. Here I can go ahead and put something like 2 like that. Or if it was a minor one, I can go ahead and say 1.1. So this is what the user is going to be able to see. But this is what internally is going to be able to be seen. So this version code is very, very important. In fact, if we go back to our code here, or rather our documentation, it says version code, a positive integer used as an interval, as an internal version number, like I said. And below here, we see version name, which, like I said, is just a string used as the version number shown to users. And also, they even help us to tell us that the value is a string so that you can describe the app version as major, minor, point. What does that mean is the first number, let's say 1, is the major version. And then if you say dot and put another number, say 1.1, is the minor version. And the last one is just the point. Okay, so they give us an example here. For instance, in our Android, we say now we are at version number 2. So the version code, the most important one, the user won't see, but it is important because the internal Android as well as the APK reader inside of Google Play will read. It has to be a full number, an integer. The version name in this case here, because we know it's the second version, we say 1.1 to say it was a minor version. Okay. That's how you can do it. And of course, you can add other things like product flavors and so forth. But the most important part is this part here. So going back to our code here, everything should be good. We have version, in fact, I'm going to go to 1.0 because that's what. So this is all good and ready for us to keep going. All right, so in the next video, we're going to continue setting things up here so that we will be able to then produce an APK that it's ready to be uploaded. Perfect. I'll see you next.